Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm back with another very interesting video today. Today we will be covering all the topics, almost all the SQL topics within a single problem. So we will solve a problem using 10 methods. Yes, not 1, 2 or 3, using 10 methods. And within that 10 methods, you will learn different way of solving a problem. And in that process, you will learn almost all of the SQL topics. Okay. So today's video is going to be very interesting. Let's start the video by understanding the problem and then we will move on to the different solutions. Okay, so let's start. So we have a simple table, but the question is tricky. Okay, so that simple table is this students table where we have student ID and what skills they have. So for example, student ID 1, they have this guy knows SQL, Python, and Tableau all three. So student ID 2 knows SQL only. Student ID 3 knows SQL and Python. Similarly for 4 and 5, right? Now the question is write a SQL to find students who know only SQL and Python, right? So this is a tricky one. Why? Because I want a student who know only SQL Python. So the guy who knows Tableau as well, I don't know. I don't want, right? I don't want this guy. I want the guy who knows only SQL Python. So student ID 1 will not qualify because this guy is no Tableau as well. So this guy is overqualified, right? Student ID 2 will not come because this guy know only SQL. I need a student who know SQL and Python only, but both SQL Python. So only student ID 3 will qualify in this case, right? Again, this 4 will not qualify. 5 also knows two skills, but they are not SQL Python. So this guy will also not qualify. So the answer will be only student ID 3. Okay. I hope the question is clear. Now, I will solve using 10 methods. You have to tell me which is the best you liked and I will tell you my favorite also. Okay? So let's start. So let's build the thinking how we can solve it. So there are two phases, two things, right? First thing is the student should have two skills only. So this is clear that the student should have two skills, right? We are saying the student should have SQL and Python, right? A student can have three skills as well. But one thing is for sure that student should have only two skills. And those two skills, so we have to do two checks that there should be only two skills and those two skills should be SQL and Python only, nothing else, right? Right. So to get how many skills we have, if we look at the first thing, we need to get the count. So I will say select student ID, right, comma, count of star as total skills, right, from student table group by student ID, right? So if I do this, what will happen? I will get count 2 for this guy. Other guys also will have count 2, 3. Let's see what we have. So if you see student ID 1 has 3, 2 has 1, 3 has 2, right? 3 has 2, which is fine. But 5 is also 2. So if I just say having, or if I just say where total skills is equal to, let's create a CT. Okay, let's create a CT. So I'll say with CTE as, right? And if I just select star from CTE where total skills equal to 2, this will be wrong, right? Because in this case student ID 3 and 5 both will qualify, right? So if I do this, so this is not working. So this is fine that the student should have two skills, right, which is fine, but only SQL Python, right? So 5 should not qualify. For that, what we can do, I can create one more count column and I will say count case when skills in SQL Python, right? If the skills in SQL Python, then only take the count. Okay, then 1 else 0, right? And I can do a sum as well. Count or sum, anything is fine. Or I can say count. I can just say count. That is also fine, right? I can just say count and put here the second column skill. Okay. So now and else null, because now null will count zero. So count will not count null value. It will count zero. So I am saying else null, right? So if I run this now, you see, for student ID 3, I am getting this count as 2, right? And this count as also as 2, correct? So the student should have 2 skills total, yes. And when we filter on SQL Python, then also it should have 2 skills, right? Now this guy has one because it has one SQL and one tableau, right? So it means it is just counting one. When I'm filtering on it, it is just coming one because it doesn't have both of these skills. So now if I say where total skills equal to 2 and let's call it SP skills, SQL Python skills, this should also be equal to 2. If that is the case, then my student is qualified, right? Then I'm getting 2, 2, right? I hope this makes sense. So this is my solution number 1. Solution number 1. Okay. So in this what we are doing, we are getting 2 count for total skills and count for SQL and Python. So if the student says both the skills, then this will also come as 2, and if both are 2, then this is the guy, right? Let's move on to the solution number 2. In solution number 2, we will little bit simplify this. So what we will do, let's copy this, right? Now, because if you see this total skills and SP skills, both are aggregated columns, right? Here count star total skills, here count as is also is a count, right? So this is also an aggregated kind of value. So instead of creating a column in CT and then putting in the where clause, I can put this in the having directly. So I will say having count star equal to 2 and this also equal to 2, right? So I don't have to write CT, I can just do this and this will give me that student, right? It is the same thing, but we just converted CT to having clause, right? So this is my solution number 2. Now if you look at carefully in the solution number 2, right, let's modify this solution a little bit and a different thinking mindset, right? So what I will say, let's remove having and I will write one more column here. Okay. So what I'm saying, I will count, I will see how many students have any other skills. So what I will do, I'll just copy this, right, and paste it. And I will say where skill not in SQL Python, right? And SPN skills. Let's call it SPN skills, right? So what I'm saying that give me count of other skills other than SQL Python, right? So what will happen now? If you see the students who have any other skill will have a count 1, right? So only for student 3, if you see the total skill is 2 and any other skill is 0, right? So I can say having counter star equal to 2 and this should be equal to 0, right? So I will just say okay, and this should be equal to 0, and this will give me the answer again, right? So same thing, different way of thinking, only student ID 3 we are getting. Okay, so this is my method 3 and these are very similar methods. Now let's look at some other way of solving it. Okay, now if you look at carefully again one more time, let's take this. Okay, I am going to take this. So one thing is clear that we want a student who have 2 skills, right? And after that, we will see that this guy should have only SQL Python, which we achieved using this. But what else also we can do is let's take this, right, and say having count star equal to 2. equal to 2. So we will end up with two students, right? We will end up with two students, but we don't want this guy because this guy has some other skill. So student ID 5 has what? Python and Tableau, right? It has Tableau extra, which means we don't want students who have any other skill, right? We achieved it using having clause here that students should not have any other skill, but we can also say where student ID not in, right? We don't want any students who have any other skill than SQL Python. So I will just select student ID from students, right? Where skill not in and put this, right? So what will happen if a student has any other skill? He will qualify here, right? He will qualify here, but we don't want those kind of students, right? So those student ID means 5 is here, right? 145. So I am saying give me students who have two skills, which is fine, but I don't want to students who have any other skill. So I am saying not in, and this is my subquery, right? And then if I run again, I will get student ID 3, right? So this is method number 4. I hope it makes sense. Now let's see what are other ways. So let's move on to solution number 5. Now here we are saying student ID not in if someone has any other skill. Now this not in wala thing, this not in functionality we can achieve using except or minus, right? So what I can do, I'll just cut it here. So I will take all the students who have two skills, right? Right? So I don't want this column as such. I'll just remove it, right? I can do except or in some database it is minus. I will pick students, select student ID from students where where skill in where skill not in SQL Python, right? So I'm getting all the student ID who have some other skill other than SQL Python, right? So again we will get those students. This is the same inner query, right? So 145. I'm saying except. So give me all the students who have two skills, right? Minus, right? Student who have any other skill, right? If the student has any other skill, he will come here, right? Then we will not take that guy. So this is also a way of solving this. So again, we are getting student ID 3. Okay, I hope this makes sense. Now you will be saying why we are solving in a different methods. It just gives you more freedom when you think about the problems in the future. You know the lot of solutions, right? During the interviews you might not click with the best solution, but even if you answer with some other method it is fine, right? So you should have lot of solutions in your mind when you get a problem. Okay, let's move on to the sixth. Now, if you had heard about correlated subquery, there is a concept of not exist. Okay, so whatever we achieved using this can be achieved using not exist. So what I will do, I'll just pick this query. Okay, and now instead of this independent subquery, I can create a correlated subquery. So I will say where not exists. I'll just explain how it works. Let's call it as S1, right? We have to use alias. You will understand why. Select one from students, let's say S2, right? Where, again, I will say pick all the student where skill not in this. So this will be S2 dot skill not in this and S1 dot student ID equal to, I'll just explain what is happening here, s2 dot student ID, right? And let's remove this. Okay, so what essentially I'm doing, first thing is same, that the student should have two skills, which we have done. But we are saying not exist. So what happens? There is a difference of S1 here, right? So for each row of S1 table, this inner query will run, right? If it returns anything, then not exist will become false, right? So it is not exist, it is reverse, right? If there is no row from here for a student id, right, then it will come true. So when I'm saying not in SQL Python, right, if someone has tableau skill, right, then this statement will come false, right? This statement will come false and it will not return anything. If a student does not have anything else apart from SQL Python, this will return true because it is ulta, reverse, right? So if I run this, I will get the same result 3, right? So I have created another video on exist not exist. If you want to see, you can check. But this is a concept of correlated subquery where each row of this table, for each row of this table, the inner query will run. Okay, I hope it makes sense. Let's move on to the more ways of solving the problem, right? Now let's do this thing. What we will do, we will create three separate cities for SQL, Python, and other skills, right? So what I will say with SQL as select star from students where skill equal to SQL. Okay, so this is my first city. Next city is Python, right? As select star from students where skill equal to Python, right? My favorite method has not come yet, so wait for it. It is really cool. Okay. Select a star from student where skill equal to Python, right? Now what we will do, what we can do, we can join these two tables, right? If I do a inner join, the students, common students will come who have SQL and Python, right? But those students will also come who have other skills like SQL, Python, Tableau. The student ID 5 will also come. So for that, what we'll do, we will create a other city. Other as select star from students where skill not in SQL Python. If someone has any other skill, then this guy will come here, right? Now what I will do, I will say select from SQL, right? Inner join, Python. Let's call it SP, and this is S, right? And I will say on S dot student ID equal to P dot student ID. Okay, let's run this and see who guys are coming, right? Okay, okay, there will be one more bracket here. Yeah, we are good. So if you see again, one and this guy is also coming, one is coming and three is also coming, right? And that's the problem, right? If you see, student ID 1 is coming and student ID 3 is coming. Why? Just look at the 1 and 3. So if you look at the student ID 1 and 3, just go back here, or let me query this table. Students, right? Why 1 and 3 are coming? Let's understand. So if you see, student ID 1 has three skills, right? It had SQL also, Python also. So this guy is coming, right? We are not checking if it has something else or not. Correct? So this guy has SQL and this guy has Python. So this guy is coming and 3 is also coming. Right? Now this guy 5 is not coming because there is no inner join happening. Because in the SQL wala SQL CT, this guy is not coming. Correct? SQL is not coming. So only 1 and 3 is qualifying. But at the same time, we should see the guy should not have any other skill, right? So this guy will come in this also. Student ID 1 will come in this also, right? See? So what I will do a left join here. Left join other O on s dot skill s dot student id equal to o dot student id, right? And let's see what are the results. So if you see for student ID 3, this is coming null. So this student ID and skill is coming from O. So let me do this. So I will say S dot star comma O dot star. Okay. So I am taking everything from SQL wala and sorry. Uh, Okay. So if you see this guy O dot star, this is null. Why? Because this guy doesn't have any other skill, right? So this guy has tableau skill. So this guy is qualifying here. So when I'm joining, I'm getting this tableau skill, which means if I say where O dot student ID, sorry, O dot student ID or skill, any column should be is null. So if it is null, it means this guy doesn't have any other skill apart from SQL Python. Right? So we have got three. Okay. I hope it makes sense. Okay. Now, now we can even further simplify it. The same query. So let's do it. Sorry. So solution number 8, right? In solution number 8, what we are going to do is in solution number 8, we will just copy this query again, this one. Okay. Now, sorry, let's take this. Okay. Why it is showing error? Let me copy full query one more time. Okay, I did not copy the CTs, which is fine. Which is fine. Okay. So what I will do, I'll just join with students table again. Students, and let's call all of them students, and this also is students. Okay. Now, instead of creating CTs, I can put this condition in where clause. So I can say the students, for the students, take only skill where s dot skill equal to SQL, right? And and p dot skill equal to Python, right? This is the same way of doing thing. Just instead of CTE, I am putting this condition. So I am doing a join S and P, but I am saying from the students S table take only rows where skill is SQL. Similarly, from this P, take only where it is Python, right? And let me show you the results. So, okay, let's do this one and then we will see how we can do left join. Okay, again, I'm getting 1 and 3. This is the same thing which we got without doing left join, student ID 1 and 3. Now I will do left join, right? And I will say the same thing here. So from this table, get all the students who have any other skill, right? So I will say on, this join will be there in student ID and O dot skill not in SQL Python, right? O dot skill not in SQL Python, right? And if I run this again and show you, again we end up with same thing. We have a null here, and there is some other value like tableau. So I'll just add this condition here, and O dot student ID is null, right? There shouldn't be a student which have any other skill. So if I run this again, I'm getting 3. Okay, so this is a same SQL, same problem we are solving with different methods. Sometimes using CTs, inner join, subquery, this, that, right? Let's move on to the solution number 9, and the solution number 10 is my favorite one. Okay, and you have to tell which is your favorite one and let me know if you have any other solution in mind. Okay, so let's move on to the solution number 9. In solution number 9, we are going to do a similar thing, right? So in solution number 9, what we will do, we will say instead of inner join, so let's do this. Let's take this, right? Again, I'm not repeating the same method, but whatever you can do using this can be done without CT as well. But just to simplify, I will say give me all the students who are there in the SQL one. So s dot student id, right? And let's remove this, and I will say intersect. Intersect will give you the common students, right? So I will say select. Let's remove this. This alias is not required. Select student ID from Python, right? So if I do this, I will get those student which are present in both, right? So if I do this, let me copy this. Okay. If you see, I'm getting 1 and 3 both, right? Correct? I'm getting 1 and 3 both. Again, this guy we don't want. So I will say except, it's like doing a minus. So I'm first doing intersect and then except select student ID from other, right? So we want intersect of these, but don't want those which are present in other, right? So if I run this, I'm getting again student ID 3. Okay, so this we did using left join earlier. Now we did intersect. So we did using inner join and left join. Here we did using intersect and accept. Okay, now last, my favorite one. Okay, so in the 10th one, what we are going to do is, it is very similar to the first one, but there is a trick. Okay, and it will make the solution simpler. So let me copy this. Okay. Now, what we are going to do is that we know that if the skill is SQL and Python, then only we want to take those students. If anything else, we don't want to consider, right? So, what I will do, I don't want count star as such. Okay. I will say when skill in SQL Python, then 1, else 5, and sum this up. Okay. What I'm saying with CTS this query. Okay, so what this query will do, if the skill is in SQL and Python, then it will give 1. If there is anything else, then 5. Okay, let me run this. If you see, only the student 3 has 2. Everyone else has either less or more. Why? Because if there is anything else apart from SQL Python, I am giving a high number something. It can be 5 or 10 or any number you can give. So this number will become very higher. Okay. And if someone has, let's say, Python and Tableau, right? Then Tableau it will be 5, right? For Python it will be 1, so it will be 6 again, right? And someone has only one skill, either SQL or Python, then he will have 1. If someone has only Tableau, then this kind of guy will have 5. So only students who have SQL and Python only, they will have sum as 2, right? So I can say here, select star from CT where, let's call it SP skills, whatever, equal to 2, right? Now the thing is, we can do it using having clause as well, like I showed you earlier, right? So I'm getting student ID 3. Okay, so this is a magical method. You have to just create one column here, right? You don't have to create two columns, and you can achieve this using having clause as well. Just put this in the having clause equal to 2, right? I hope this makes sense. If you really like the video, please like the video and subscribe to the channel if you have not. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.